Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of From the Pastor's Desk. It's Friday, the 17th of July. Hopefully that you're all still doing really, really well. I don't know how you guys have been feeling, but this last week has been really cold. And so for this KZN boy, it's been a struggle. As you can see, I'm wearing a scarf. I think this whole week so far, I've worn a scarf every single day of the week and a beanie on a couple of the mornings as well. This morning, I wanted to pick up something from our readings this morning, something that's really, really personal, something for me that is very, very personal. Some of you may know the story about me, some of you may not know the story, but it's something that I struggled with for a while, and hopefully for what we're going to be sharing this morning, something that we can encourage each other with. And so this morning I'm reading from 1 Thessalonians 2. I'm just reading from verse 11 and 12. And really, you'll notice over the last 3 weeks, we've kind of only picked up 2 verses. And that's never really been our intention to go through almost verse by verse. But it's when we see what Paul is saying to the church in Thessalonica, there's just so much in just 2 verses that needs to be unpacked, that I believe that we need to, let's rather take it slowly, unpack it properly, so that we're not skipping over anything. And so this morning, the reading I want to read to you is from, as I said, from verse 11 and 12. So let's read it together, and you'll see it'll come up on the bottom of your screen. And you know that we treated each of you as a father treats his own children. We pleaded with you, encouraged you, and urged you to live your lives in a way that God would consider worthy, for he called you to share in his kingdom and glory. And so Paul says to the church in Thessalonica here that we need to be, you saw how we treated you, as a father treats his own children. Now, that for me, a couple of years ago would have been a very, very difficult concept to actually get hold of, or to get around, as a father should be treating, as a father treats his own children. Realizing, just chatting this week, that there's so many guys that have struggles with father figures. And so for me, I had a major struggle with my father figure, to the point where I didn't speak to my dad for 6 months. I refused point blank just to speak to him. I wouldn't even say a word to him. I wouldn't even greet him. I wouldn't acknowledge him. Got to the point where I eventually even was calling him just a sperm donor in my life, that he wasn't even my father. And I look back and I got to the point where I would read the Bible and I just wasn't connecting with God. Spoke to a very, very good friend of mine and said, listen, you need to please pray for me. I'm reading and I'm just not connecting with God. And he challenged me. He said, are you honoring your mother and your father? And I would say, listen, I'm honoring my mom. I love my mom to bits, but, I don't have a dad. And he would just say, you got to honor your mother and your father. And it was a very hard thing for me. However, I am glad to say that me and my dad have resolved all of our issues. And I no longer see him as a dad. He's kind of become one of my best friends. Me and my dad have got an amazing relationship now. I love my dad to bits. We get on really, really well. And realizing that I was holding on to things that, didn't realize. And so getting to the point, looking at that. And so what I'm trying to get at with this whole thing is that many of us may have had a horrible experience with a father figure in our lives. Some of us, unfortunately, even growing up without a dad, with absentee dads. And it's a horrible thing. And it does, I know for guys, it kind of affects us. I don't know how the ladies feel about this, but I know for guys that it definitely does affect you when you don't have that positive male model. But here we see how Paul says, we treated each of you the way that a father treats his own children. And I started thinking about that and saying, Paul's saying, yes, you were young believers, and we treated you the same way that a father treats his own children. We got to the point where we were loving you, we were guiding you, we were leading you, and we were protecting you. And I started just thinking about that and going, looking back at our father figures, we may not have had the best role, but we can almost guarantee that we've had somebody in our life that has pulled alongside of us and done that for us. I know I've had the privilege of having people like that have pulled alongside of me and loved me, guided me, led me, and been absolutely amazing role models for me to follow. People that I've then had the privilege to actually work with in ministry who, would say that we peers, but I would always consider them spiritual role models. I would consider them spiritual giants in the faith. And so, what my challenge this morning for all of us is that, no matter what our past, is that it's almost easy to get to that point where we can have a pity party and hold on to them like, oh, but you don't know how bad it is. Like, you don't know what I went through. You don't know how my dad used to treat me. And I don't. None of us do. But that doesn't stop us from being the ones that break that. And so what I'm trying to get at is that we can either continue falling into that same pattern, or we can be, okay, it ends with me. My generation is where it ends. And getting to the point and going, yes, I may not have had the most positive experience with a male role model or a role model, somebody who I should have been looking up to as a father, but I'm going to be someone better. I'm going to set the standard in my eyes, what we should be following. And so, you see, we do things like that through the Titus Project, where for whatever reason, we've got young guys that don't have dads, and we encourage older men and women to pull alongside younger men and younger girls, and just to lead them, guide them, and encourage them to do life with them. Because what I'm trying to get at is, and you'll hear me using that phrase quite a bit when you get to know me, just doing life with people. And we see Paul was doing life with the church believers, the churchgoers in Thessalonica, and we need to be doing the same thing. And so my challenge for you this morning is, are you kind of just falling into that same pattern going, actually, but you don't know what it's like? Or are you setting the example? Are you finding somebody that's younger than you, leading them, guiding them, motivating them, doing life with them? And when I started thinking about that and going like, yes, I think it applies to relationships, but it also applies to those that are young in their faith. That so often we kind of just almost expect people to do it by themselves. And I'm a firm believer that we're called to be in relationship. We're called to be in relationship with God, and we're called to be in relationship with one another. And even within those relationships, there's going to be some that, are different than others. And what I'm trying to get is, we look at Paul and Timothy. Paul mentored Timothy. And so we often even use that example that Paul was pulling Timothy up as Timothy was doing his own church work. And we need to be doing that as well. That Paul had no biological relationship to Timothy. But Paul gets to the point where he calls Timothy my true son in the faith. And here he takes it another step and he says, we treated you as a father treats his own children, calling every single church member there, because he would have been, the apostle, if I can call it that, coming alongside and saying, we are going to love you, we are going to lead you, we're going to guide you the same way that a father does. And so, no matter what our background with our fathers, no matter what we've gone through, we need to be leading, guiding those that are younger than us. And so you may be watching this going like, yeah, but there's nobody younger than me. There's always somebody younger than you, whether it's somebody younger in the faith or somebody younger in years, and going, actually, what difference can I make? And sometimes it's just something as small as just coming alongside of them and finding out how they're doing. Just coming alongside and taking interest in the things that they're doing. Coming alongside and asking them, hey, actually, what is God saying to you? Have you been reading your Bible? Tell me how I can pray for you. And sometimes we've got to get to that point where we get literally just that blunt saying, how can I pray for you this week? Or what can I pray for you this week? How are things going with you? And so the amazing thing, we think about the Christian faith, that it doesn't matter what our experience with our earthly fathers have been. We have got this amazing Heavenly Father waiting for us. We have got this amazing Heavenly Father going, I love you. I love you so much that I sent my son to die for you, to reconcile you back to me. And I love when we look at it in Jewish culture at the time, that we then become adopted kids. And so the amazing thing about being adopted as a Jewish child back in the day is that the adopted child automatically got the rights of the firstborn. And God is saying, not that I was just given you, but God is saying, I chose you. How cool is that we have got a father figure in heaven saying, I chose you. And so as we see there, Paul encouraged them and he pleaded with them and to live in a way that is worthy and honoring God. Are we doing the same thing? Are we pleading? Are we encouraging? Are we telling our younger people, our younger members, our younger people in the faith, our younger guys that we come in contact with, are you living a way that honors God? And how can we walk a path and a journey with you? And to me, that is an amazing father figure role that we can all play, whether we're male or female. We can all love, lead, and guide somebody younger than us, and it changes lives. And so we can be the start of something that is transformative, where we don't have to kind of go, oh, but we can change lives. And that for me is absolutely amazing. So again, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, God bless. We look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a good one. Cheers.